It may not be a goldfield, but there's still plenty of money to be made in these hills. Bush rockers have ripped a fortune out of the Yengo and Darug national parks.
It's a multi-million-dollar industry, and we're talking about around about 100 to 150 operators that we're aware of. There's a lot more, of course, outside our district.
Bushrock has long been popular with landscapers, but what looks great in the garden is sorely missed in the forest.
Taking the rock from an area like this is literally probably more damaging than cutting down all the trees. The rock is a prime habitat for probably most of the species in the area. A lot of the seeds of plants survive in the cool atmosphere under a rock during a fire, and also taking rocks away means that the erosional effects of rain and just normal weathering are increased greatly.
The National Parks and Wildlife Service has begun aerial patrols to catch bushrockers in the act. Those found stealing from Crown land face stiff fines or imprisonment for up to 6 months. An even bigger deterrent would be a change in public taste.
No one nowadays would choose to landscape their garden in tropical rainforest timber, but by choosing to landscape gardens in bushrock, they're doing just about as much damage.
Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.
In a city based on heavy industry with a high unemployment rate, Dennis Crampton says his referral agency, Hunter Technical Services, is working hard to fill vacancies for its clients. The Newcastle CES branch confirmed the shortage. It has about a dozen boilermakers on its books. Dennis Crampton wants to see retraining programs introduced to allow welders and fitters to cross into the boilermakers trade. In the meantime, he says age is no barrier.
We have several boilermakers working for us who are above 55.
The same employment issue was being discussed on a broader note at Maitland today, where the Department of Further Education, Training and Employment was discussing strategies to meet the hunters' employment needs into the 90s. One of the biggest issues is tailoring the job skills market to meet the demands of employers.
Industry needs particular people with particular skills. We need to train them and retrain them to give them those skills. But we also need to pick up those people who are disadvantaged in the labour market, who've been out of it for a while, or who are young and never held a job, who've been retrenched, and pick them up as well.
And while the department looks ahead, Dennis Crampton continues looking for boilermakers. The latest successful applicant has just arrived from Queensland.
Seventeen of Australia's strongest board riding clubs converged on Newcastle's Dixon Park Beach to fight out the 1990 Quicksilver Surf League finals. Conditions were far from ideal, but that didn't stop defending champions Merewether taking up where they left off last year. Dave MacArthur took second in the opening heat, while Craig McMillan produced a never say die performance to clinch first place in one of the closest heats of the day. The Merewether boys were on a roll, and Avoca import Shane Powell didn't let the team down. He produced some tight, snappy surfing to convincingly down some highly fancied opponents, including Bondi's Ben Webber. Obviously inspired, Marcus Brabant paddled out and produced the performance of the day, the highlight being this incredible backhand tube. Brabant's win put Merewether in a strong position, and Matt Hoy was just the man to ram home the advantage. Hoy's heat was the strongest of the day and featured some eye-catching surfing from Lennox boy Craig Holly and Snapper Rock's goofy footer Josh Locke. Hoy's raw power approach prevailed though, and at the end of day one, Merewether were assured of a place in the semi-finals. With big guns Law, Egan and Wood yet to surf, the champions' depth was obvious, and it was a grimly determined Simon Law who considered the possibility of competing in the tiny conditions.
Everyone's seemed to adapted well to small wave conditions since we surf a lot on tour. So the boys are just going to surf their best no matter how big or small it is.
Going well so far. Pretty confident of 4 in a row?
I hope so, yeah.
Day 2 dawned with the swell even smaller than the first, and an early high tide saw competitors grovelling in a minuscule shore break. Bondi's In the Nude Club, which usually uses the more respectable ITN moniker, was looking a certain finalist, and team members took the opportunity to show spectators exactly how they got such a bizarre name. A tag team format was used in the semi-finals, and the Bondi boys used superior tactics to oust the powerful Cronulla unit. In the second semi, Merewether got off to a slow start against the young guns from Kirra, and an untimely fall-off by Nicky Wood saw the champs facing a serious deficit. Designated double point surfer Luke Egan responded in brilliant fashion. He increased the advantage with a rare tube that put Merewether back in the hunt and gave Matt Hoy all the inspiration he needed. A blazing performance from Hoy put Merewether comfortably ahead, and anchorman Simon Law was as calm as ever in sealing a spot in the finals. This time Marcus Brabant got off to a flying start, and by the time he left the water, Merewether had a 2-point advantage. Rod Kerr fought back for ITN. With an impressive wave, he double whammied for the bonus points that put the Bondi boys in front. Robbie Sherwell found all the right waves in his stoush with Nicky Wood, and the pressure was well and truly on double whammy surfer Luke Egan to put Merewether back in the hunt. Unfortunately, the ocean refused to cooperate, and some fierce hassling by Ben Webber only made matters worse. As the pressure increased, Luke risked an interference to catch a vital fourth wave. The controversial move was to prove the turning point. No interference was called, and Webber had wasted a crucial wave.
There wasn't really a possibility because I was first to my feet, and it was pretty silly of Ben Webber to actually get to his feet because he used one of his scoring waves where he wasn't in a position to get a high scoring ride, so he shouldn't have really been pushing me. I'm bigger than him too.
Another Matt Hoy blitz put Merewether further in front, and Simon Law put the icing on the cake with 4 quick waves that wrapped up the title. The announcement was a formality that gave Merewether 4 consecutive Quicksilver Teams championships.
Before today, I was thinking, gee, we've done it 3, we've got to do it 4, and now a couple of minutes ago it just switched now and going, it's 4 and now we've got to do it 5. So it's a good feeling. The best feeling is to do it here at home.
Bruce Mackenzie for Sports Centre Sunday.
Or if they believe that they know where this knife has come from, then we would appreciate a call. Any information that we do receive, so if people feel that if they ring up that they may have to make it public knowledge that they're involved or know something, then we would appreciate a call. Any information that we do receive,
What does that get us?
Indigestion.
After consultation with King Fahd and our other allies, I have today directed the Secretary of Defense to increase the size of U.S. forces committed to Desert Shield to ensure that the coalition has an adequate offensive military option.
Gourmet food is, shall we say, a consuming interest of mine.
In tonight's NBN News, more than $250,000 spent on stamps by former National Party leader Charles Blunt. His postal bill is now under investigation by the Administrative Services Department.
Two Newcastle men are dead after a shocking road smash at Broadmeadow last night when their car landed on its roof after plunging 7 metres from a railway overpass. The knife, still gruesomely streaked with blood, was discovered by police a week ago but was sent to Sydney for detailed scientific testing. The result, the blood on the 20-centimetre blade is human and it matches large quantities discovered just a week ago in a storm drain at Broadmeadow at the Griffith Road overpass. Police weren't surprised by the connection. The knife was found in the same area during a second, more intensive search of the scene. The blood type is common to just 1 in 10 people and police have now ruled out a connection with the June Brislane murder late last month. Police have also ruled out the possibility of a prank and they're almost certain it wasn't a suicide attempt.
Well, we've made inquiries within the hospital system and also within the Shortland Clinic, and they've had no admissions whatsoever with any of the psychiatric centres around Newcastle to indicate that someone may have attempted to take their own life. It may well be that somebody could have, but has not told anybody at home, or if they have, it's been kept fairly quietly between the family or people who may know them.
There's more than a litre of blood in the storm channel, both under the bridge and dozens of metres up an adjoining tunnel. Police found one small clue, a fragment of a sand tube print displaying a ripple-soled tread, but they're unable to gauge its size or make. In the meantime, police are working on the strong possibility that somewhere in the community there is an assailant and a victim.
Well, we tend to believe that it's a probable situation where there's been an argument between two people. Someone has obviously been cut or stabbed, and the matter's been kept very quiet between them. Possibly they may have either treated the injury themselves or they've gone to either a doctor and said nothing about how it has occurred, and nothing's been reported to the police.
Emergency crews went to the crash scene shortly after 10:20 p.m. There was nothing they could do for the men. Witnesses say the station sedan hit the southern curb of the railway overpass at high speed, spearing through a post and wire fence and hurtling into space. The car rolled as it fell, landing on its roof and killing both young men instantly. A police rescue crew used hydraulic spreaders to reach the victims. They were freed from the wreck within 30 minutes. Passenger services on the nearby railway line weren't interrupted, but firefighters concerned by fuel leaking from a ruptured petrol tank played foam around the wreck. At this stage, it's not known why the vehicle leapt the curb on the sweeping approach to the overpass. The road surface was dry and visibility was good. The police accident investigation squad is continuing inquiries.
The sound of bikes on the showground track echoes the 1950s when weekly meetings attracted hordes of spectators. It's one of the best tracks around, its gravel surface giving the bikes good bite, long straights made for opening up the throttle. The Hunter Valley's hot shots were out in force for a warm-up. The family names of Davies and Watson, just a couple synonymous with the sport. Chris Watson has 18 national and 50 state titles behind him, but this is the only track in the valley he hasn't won on. He's out to make amends.
Very interesting. Stephen Davies, Mick Poole, Craig Boyce, they're all back from England, all been going very well, so hopefully I'll be able to do the goods and get up and get a first or a good second something.
Saturday's program features solo sliders, motocross production bikes and 1000cc sidecars. These rigs have no brakes and no speedo. Rider Doc Fulp says being first over the finish line is all that counts. Passenger Wayne Galvin hangs low to the ground and gets a faceful of dirt for his trouble. The pair have ridden together for the past 11 years and they'll be going for broke.
Yeah, we'll open up a bit tomorrow night. We're only sorting her out today. I'd say through spills, a bit spectacular for the crowd.
What's in it for the passenger on one of these?
A lot of hard work actually.
Racing starts at 4 p.m. and continues under lights until 10 o'clock.
"18 months ago, a Commission of Inquiry recommended a restructure of Elcom's mines. So far, a for sale sign has gone on only the Liddell mine, and no decision has been made on the Lake Macquarie mines, Newvale No. 1 and 2, Awabba and Newstan. The Premier says he's tired of waiting for the Electricity Commission to take action.
My patience is approximately exhausted on this subject. There will be radical, and I mean radical, change in the direction that Elcom has previously indicated. Ultimately, the government simply has no business being in coal mining in any way.
The Premier maintains an open market for power station coal, protects electricity consumers.
Simply because governments are pathologically incapable of doing most things as well as the private sector, and governments have got scarce resources, and therefore they ought to confine them to things that they have to do.
But according to one of the consultants to the Commission of Inquiry, the Liddell State coal mine just isn't a viable proposition.
No, I don't believe they're going to be easy to sell, unless of course the Electricity Commission gives long-term contracts to those mines so that you can in fact give them a real value.
He says Liddell and some of the other mines are now in their twilight years. Rebecca Skinner, NBN News.
"120 ladies teed off just after 9 this morning for a pleasant stroll around the leafy 18-hole course. It's a district competition known as the Jean Derrin event. An averaging of scores throughout the day gives scratch golfers a chance to win a trophy. By late this afternoon, Judy McCullum of Belmont and Doreen Edwards of the Merriweather Club were locked at 77 points each. A 4-hole playoff clinched the day and the cup for McCullum. The men's event with 300 starters gets underway tomorrow.
In Newcastle, 600 members of the Wages Division of the Federated Municipal Employees Union mounted a 2-day strike at the end of last week, leaving the city minus garbage collections, beach patrols and roadworks. The dispute was over the suspension of 3 workers who it was alleged were found drinking in this club during working hours. The union claims they were on their lunch break. An Industrial Commission hearing on Friday recommended the workers return to their jobs today, with a further hearing scheduled for next week. Meanwhile, in Cessnock, 180 outdoor workers continued their strike, which began on Friday over the appointment of a road ganger made on merit rather than seniority. Work on the nearly completed Allendale Road has been held up. Though work resumes tomorrow, rolling strikes will continue until the dispute is settled.
Ken Rosewell came to Newcastle to officially launch the inaugural AMP Classic, but the large crowd had come to see the great man do battle with local girl Rachel McQuillan. Up against the nation's top-ranked female, Ken knew he was in for a testing time.
Well, Rachel's a great young player, and I think Newcastle people and Australian people can be awfully proud of her, because I've seen her play a lot at Wimbledon this year, and she's improved a lot.
Just coming back from a recent break from tennis, Rachel was just keen to trade shots with the man who won the Australian and French Opens back in 1953.
I've only just started playing a couple of days ago and I haven't been hitting the ball all that great, but you know, it's a great experience for me, and you know, I just can't wait to hit a few balls against him.
McQuillan started brilliantly and raced to a 3-love lead. Muscles was nursing a tender ankle, but still moving like a panther around the court. The crowd sensed a comeback and got right behind Rosewell. He responded in typically graceful fashion. Sensing a battle, McQuillan pulled out all the stops to go up 5-3. But Ken was determined to put on a good show, playing every point to the death. He forced a tiebreak, then took the set 7 points to 4. It was a bedazzled Rachel McQuillan who reflected on the talents of her 56-year-old opponent.
At the start, I think I didn't know really what to do, sort of to play, just hit the ball in and have a rally, and I did that, and I think Ken made a few mistakes, probably because he was a bit stiff, and he got warmed up after the 3 loves. He got really back into it and played some great shots. I couldn't believe it.
Bruce Mackenzie, NBN News.